10 WWE wrestlers who will never be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. Many people agree that the WWE Hall of Fame isn't seen as the most trustworthy place. It's often viewed as a reward for those who have strong ties to WWE, especially Vince McMahon, while some truly deserving wrestlers don't get the recognition they deserve. For example, names like Tori Wilson, Koko B. Ware, and the Bushwhackers have received this prestigious honor. But there are many industry icons who still haven't been inducted. Here, we'll take a look at 10 wrestlers who aren't in the WWE Hall of Fame, but really should be. Let's explore why they haven't been recognized yet. And before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all things wrestling. You won't want to miss out. Owen Hart. Owen Hart, known as The Rocket, is one of the most famous wrestlers still not in the WWE Hall of Fame. Coming from the legendary Hart family, he quickly made a name for himself as one of the top villains in the WWF during the mid-90s, especially with his heated rivalry with his older brother, Bret. Before that, he showed off his wrestling talent in New Japan and worked in lower-card tag teams, but 1994 was the year he truly broke out. That year, Owen stunned fans when he turned on Bret at the Royal Rumble and even defeated him at WrestleMania X. Their match at SummerSlam 1994 earned a rare 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer, only the second match in WWF history to get that honor. Although Owen never won the WWE Championship, he was still one of the best in the ring, winning the Intercontinental and World Tag Team titles several times. He had memorable matches against stars like Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog. Owen was well liked by his fellow wrestlers and was known for keeping things lighthearted with his jokes backstage. Tragically, in 1999, he passed away during a live show while performing as a masked superhero character. Owen was supposed to be lowered into the ring, but due to faulty equipment, he tragically fell 70 feet onto the corner of the ring. He later died from his injuries, but the WWF decided to go on with the Over the Edge pay-per-view event. Since then, Owen's wife, Martha, has made it clear she would never let him be inducted into the Hall of Fame. In the show Dark Side of the Ring, she said, "I would never allow Owen to be recognized by a company that is actually responsible for his death." Now, it seems even less likely that WWE will honor Owen, especially with his connection to AEW, which created the Owen Hart Cup in his memory. Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman still isn't in the Hall of Fame, and many believe that's because of his tragic death while he was still with the WWF. In October 1997, he was scheduled to face Mick Foley, but he was found dead at just 35 from heart disease. WWF made things worse by interviewing his grieving widow live on TV the very next night, which earned them the Wrestling Observer's Award for Most Disgusting Promotional Tactic. Although Pillman's time in WWF was cut short because of injuries from a 1996 car accident, he had already built a strong reputation with some impressive performances. Known as Flyin' Brian, he became a fan favorite in World Championship Wrestling in the early 90s, thanks to his down-to-earth, all-American charm that made him easy to connect with. He was hardworking, agile, and had natural charm, and his character really took off when he teamed up with a young, stunning Steve Austin as part of the Hollywood team. Later, Pillman joined the Four Horsemen and introduced his wild, loose cannon persona, blurring the lines between reality and wrestling. One of his most famous moments came when he called on-screen wrestler Kevin Sullivan the Booker, leading to an unforgettable unscripted scene where Bobby Heenan shouted, "What the heck are you doing?" during a heated altercation. Pillman made a bold exit from WCW by convincing Executive Vice President Eric Bischoff to release him, and then he quickly moved on to Extreme Championship Wrestling before landing in the WWF. In the WWF, he had a memorable feud with his former tag team partner, Steve Austin, especially during the Pillman's Got a Gun storyline, where he threatened Stone Cold with a gun. It's surprising that he's not in the Hall of Fame, especially considering he's the only wrestler from the very first WCW Monday Nitro, where he fought in the opening match, who hasn't been inducted yet. Ivan Koloff. Ivan Koloff's absence from the WWE Hall of Fame is a surprising one, especially considering how much his career deserves the recognition. Born Oriel Paris in Quebec, Koloff became famously known as the Russian Bear. In 1971, he made wrestling history by defeating Bruno Sammartino. ending Sammartino's incredible 8-year reign as WWF Champion. After 2,803 days as champion, Koloff shocked the crowd by defeating Sammartino, leaving them in stunned silence. Koloff later shared that he was told to go to the locker room to get his belt because they were afraid of a riot. Koloff went on to have a successful career, leading the Russian team and introducing his kayfabe nephew, Nikita Koloff. Together, these ruthless Russians battled some of the top teams, like the Road Warriors and the Rock and Roll Express. In the 1990s, Koloff also managed to compete on both the first ever ECW card and the first TV recording for Jim Cornette's Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Despite all his achievements, Koloff remains the only world champion from WWE's first 34 years who isn't in the Hall of Fame, and one of just 2 champions from the 20th century missing from it. One reason for his absence might be his involvement in a 2015 class action lawsuit, where he and other wrestlers claimed WWE hid information about head injuries. Koloff himself said that being inducted would be an honor, but sadly, he passed away in 2017, without ever receiving the recognition. His former tag partner, Barry Darsow, even suggested there might be other reasons keeping Koloff from being inducted. Sable. Sable, who is one of WWE's biggest stars during the Attitude Era, will never be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Despite being incredibly popular and known for her stunning beauty, Sable's legacy in WWE seems to be fading over time. She gave fans unforgettable moments, like the controversial contest at Fully Loaded 1998, where her chest was painted with 2 hands. Sable also held the Women's Championship from 1998 to 1999, but her time with WWE took a turn when she left the company in 1999 after taking legal action against them. Sable made a brief return to WWE in 2003, but left again in 2004. Since then, despite being married to Brock Lesnar for nearly 2 decades, her name has been intentionally kept off WWE TV. She's never been inducted into the Hall of Fame, even though many fans believe she deserves the honor. The situation became even more obvious when Tori Wilson, who worked with Sable in 2003, was told not to mention Sable during her own Hall of Fame speech in 2019. Tori later shared online that WWE had specifically warned her, saying, "You're not even allowed to mention her name." This shows just how much WWE has kept Sable's legacy out of the spotlight, making it unlikely that she'll ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame. King Kong Bundy. King Kong Bundy was a massive star in the 1980s WWF and a part of the 2016 head injury lawsuit against WWE. He was one of the most recognizable wrestlers of his time. On his House of Hardcore podcast, Tommy Dreamer shared a possible reason Bundy hasn't been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Dreamer, who worked in talent relations, once suggested bringing Bundy back for Randy Orton's 2005 Legend Killer storyline. But Bundy shut it down in a memorable way. Bundy reportedly told Dreamer, "First, tell him he needs to pay me the money he owes me. Second, unless there's a creative idea where I win the title, I'm not interested. Vince promised me the title when I put over Hulk Hogan, and he never delivered, so tell him to go F himself." Since Vince McMahon is the one who decides who gets into the Hall of Fame, this may have permanently blocked Bundy's chance. Despite this, Bundy, known as the Walking Condominium, deserves recognition for his impressive career. He worked with big-name managers like Bobby Heenan in the 80s and Ted DiBiase in the 90s. Weighing 450 pounds, he was one of the biggest athletes on the roster, even in an era filled with super heavyweights. Bundy was so dominant that he insisted on making opponents stay down for a longer count after pins, just to show off his power. Outside the ring, King Kong Bundy was known for his sense of humor and even made TV appearances. One of his most memorable roles was in a 1995 episode of Married with Children, where he played himself. In the wrestling world, Bundy had big matches at WrestleMania, including bouts against S.D. Jones and The Undertaker. But his career reached its peak when he headlined WrestleMania 2, facing off against Hulk Hogan for the WWF Championship. Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam Bigelow is another wrestler from the 20th century who headlined WrestleMania but hasn't made it into the WWE Hall of Fame. Known as the Beast from the East, Bigelow made a big impact at WrestleMania 11, where he faced off against football star Lawrence Taylor in a memorable match. Unlike Bundy, Bigelow was incredibly agile for his size, often impressing fans with his finishing move, a twisting dive from the top rope. His unique look, complete with fiery ring gear and a tattooed head, made him stand out even more. Bigelow was named Wrestling Observer's Rookie of the Year in 1986, and his first run in WWF began in 1987. He played a key part in the first ever Survivor Series main event, where he fought back from a 3-1 disadvantage to eliminate both Bundy and the one-man gang. After some time in WCW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he won the IWGP Tag Team titles with Vader and challenged for the IWGP Championship, Bigelow returned to WWF in 1992. He remained in the mid-level ranks until 1995, making it to the final of the King of the Ring in 1993 and becoming a strong member of the $1 Million Corporation. In ECW, Bigelow achieved something he hadn't in WWF, winning a title. In October 1997, he defeated Shane Douglas, one of his own teammates, to become the ECW World Heavyweight Champion. However, he lost it back to Douglas at the November to Remember event later that year. After his time in ECW, Bigelow returned to WCW and stayed there until the company closed, even appearing on the final episode of Nitro. One reason Bigelow may not have been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame could be his criminal history. Over the years, he faced several charges, including attempted kidnapping, sexual assault, and reckless driving that endangered a child. He was also very vocal about backstage politics and the drug problems that plagued the wrestling industry. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps us create more content and dive deeper into the wrestling world. Lex Luger. Lex Luger first made a big impact in Jim Crockett Promotions, which later became WCW. He joined the famous Four Horsemen group, but later left to go solo, becoming a main event star and facing Ric Flair in multiple World Championship matches. Luger became the longest reigning United States champion, a record he still holds. In 1992, he joined WWF as part of the short-lived World Bodybuilding Federation. When that ended, he debuted on WWF TV as the Narcissist. Later, he became a fan favorite after lifting the 600-pound Yokozuna. He even main-evented SummerSlam 1993, challenging for the WWF Championship, but fell short of winning the title. In 1995, while still working with WWF but without a contract, Luger made a surprise jump back to WCW on the first episode of Nitro. He stayed a top star until WCW folded, winning key matches against Bret Hart, Randy Savage, and Hulk Hogan. One of his career highlights was defeating Hogan on Nitro to win the WCW World Heavyweight title. So why isn't Luger in the WWE Hall of Fame? Many point to incidents outside the ring. In April 2003, he allegedly assaulted his girlfriend, Miss Elizabeth. The following month, she died at his house after an overdose, a death that still sparks controversy. Later that year, he was charged with DUI, and he served jail time in 2005. Another possible reason is his health. Luger is now wheelchair-bound, and WWE might hesitate to remind fans that their larger-than-life heroes can end up with serious physical issues. Aside from Vince McMahon, Luger is the only 20th century Royal Rumble winner not in the Hall of Fame. Dynamite Kid. Dynamite Kid is another wrestler left out of the Hall of Fame, mostly due to his personal life. Known for his cruel behavior backstage, he was infamous for bullying others. Stories include making the Honky Tonk Man cry, tricking and shaving out Back Jack's eyebrows, and ruining Mitch Snow's bag. His worst conflict was a long feud with Jacques Rougeau, which Rougeau believes is why he, too, is left out of the Hall of Fame. Dynamite once even pulled a gun on his own wife in front of their kids. Despite his behavior outside the ring, Dynamite's wrestling style changed the industry. He was a true pioneer, blending violence, power, speed, and agility into a unique and revolutionary style. His diving headbutt became a famous finisher. His matches with Tiger Mask in Japan are legendary, with one from 1983 earning the first ever 5-star rating from wrestling critic Dave Meltzer. Before joining WWF, he made a name for himself in Japan and regional wrestling promotions. Highlights of his WWF career include an impressive showing at 1985's The Wrestling Classic, winning the World Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 2 and opening SummerSlam 1988. Bret Hart, who wrestled both with and against him, once called the Dynamite Kid the greatest wrestler he ever worked with. Unfortunately, after a serious injury in 1986, Dynamite was never quite the same. Though he continued to wrestle in Japan for a while, his best work was in the early to mid-1980s. Miss Elizabeth. Miss Elizabeth, one of the most iconic figures in wrestling history, will never be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Known as the First Lady of Wrestling, her partnership with her husband, Macho Man Randy Savage, helped WWE reach its golden age in the late 1980s. Elizabeth first appeared alongside Savage in 1985, rejecting offers from other top managers to be by her husband's side. She stood by him through major feuds with legends like George the Animal Steele, Ricky Steamboat, and the Honky Tonk Man. Elizabeth was there when Savage won his first WWE Championship at WrestleMania 4, and when he and Hulk Hogan formed the Mega Powers, dominating the WWE together. However, trouble brewed when Savage became jealous of Hogan's friendship with Elizabeth, and the Mega Powers exploded at WrestleMania 5. Elizabeth was caught in the middle, only to later reunite with Savage after a dramatic turn of events at WrestleMania 7. Though they got married on screen at SummerSlam 1991, their real-life marriage ended in 1992, and Elizabeth largely disappeared from the public eye. She returned to WCW in 1996, where she managed Savage and even joined the Four Horsemen, but her life took a tragic turn after her divorce from Savage. In 2003, Elizabeth passed away at the age of 42 due to acute toxicity from painkillers and vodka. Her untimely death, combined with the dark circumstances surrounding her personal life, may be why WWE has chosen not to celebrate Miss Elizabeth's legacy with a Hall of Fame induction. Even though her influence on the wrestling world is undeniable, it seems she will remain absent from the Hall of Fame, just like her ex-husband, Lex Luger. Rick Martell. Rick Martell was an extremely talented wrestler who won titles in the AWA, WCW, and WWF. After years of hard work, he won the AWA World Heavyweight Championship in June 1984. Known for his wrestling skill, he held on to the title for an impressive 18 months before losing it to Stan Hansen. In 1986, Martell returned to WWF. Already a former two-time World Tag Team Champion with Tony Garea, he formed a new team, the Can-Am Connection, with Tom Zenk. They opened WrestleMania 3 in front of a reported 93,000 fans at the Pontiac Silverdome. Martell then found more success with Tito Santana as Strike Force. In November 1987, he won the tag titles by making the Hart Foundation's Jim Neidhart submit to his signature Boston Crab. Strike Force eventually split up in a famous storyline, but their rivalry never had a clear ending. After the split, Martell reinvented himself as the Model, a conceited character who wore pink and sprayed his opponents with his arrogance perfume. In this role, he had featured matches with stars like Jake the Snake Roberts and Shawn Michaels, staying in WWF until 1995. When a planned 1997 return didn't work out, Martell had a brief run in WCW, where he won the TV title from Booker T. Martell was reportedly approached for a Hall of Fame induction, but it never happened. Bruce Pritchard has said this might be because Martell has moved on and now works in real estate. Jake the Snake Roberts has added that he thinks Martell wouldn't want to travel from Canada. It seems Martell's relationship with WWE isn't bad. He's just distant from wrestling now and doesn't seem interested in being inducted. In the end, each of them carved out unforgettable moments and left marks that fans still remember today. Yet, some are held back by controversies, legal battles, or personal grievances with WWE. Others face family decisions, like Owen Hart, whose legacy lives outside of WWE. This raises some tough questions. Should personal disputes and lawsuits affect a wrestler's legacy? Is the Hall of Fame about celebrating achievements, or is it a place for those who stayed on WWE's good side? Wrestling fans will likely keep debating who deserves a spot and who's been unfairly excluded. Ultimately, their stories remind us of the challenges athletes face beyond the ring and how, despite hardships, They inspire loyalty and admiration. So, who do you think WWE should add to the Hall of Fame? Thanks for being with us through this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your subscription helps us continue creating quality content for you.